You're listening to the AfterBuzz TV Network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AfterBuzz Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AfterBuzz TV's Vegas After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AfterBuzz TV's Vegas After Show.
Good afternoon, or good evening.
Oh, wow.
What is this?
Wow. Wait a minute.
Hold on.
Wait a minute.
Oh, I like it. It's very
I feel like I'm in the Vegas desert.
1960. Oh yeah, I feel like I'm gonna do the Foxtrot. I think that's 1920s though.
This is Ranch Justice music.
That's what that is. Yeah.
Good evening, AfterBuzzers. Good evening, AfterBuzzers. Bingers for doing, and this week we're doing the third week of the first season of CBS's Vegas, All That Glitters. I'm your host Thaddeus Massey, and I'm joined with the three intelligent men. First, starting off to my left.
Bamm Ericsen,
Nick Perdue.
And I'm Alex Salem.
Okay, so
I'm still laughing at Alex doing that little dance thing he was doing.
Catchy music, man.
we gotta get Alex on the Sir Richard Wentworth.
Yeah, that's
impersonation.
He really knows what he's doing. He's an inspiration to me.
He's the bomb. The bomb diggity. Okay, so let's jump right into it, guys. Vegas, week 3.
Third episode.
Woo!
It's good. A little different.
A little bit different.
Ramping it up a bit.
I mean, we still have a minor bit of a whodunit, but it's not like really.
It's not
the crux of the episode this week, which I liked, even though they still incorporated it. It was pretty bomb.
There was a lot more going on with Savino, and I was first wondering, I'm like, great, is it just going to be about this whole money laundering thing? We were talking about that at the very beginning of the episode.
Right.
Is that going to be our kind of procedural element of this week's episode? And now I don't know. I think we're led to expect a murder and a detective case like that every week.
But I didn't think that. I knew that eventually they would start to tackle issues that dealt with the 60s and what's going on, and I think that this particular episode covered that. And I just want to give props to Seth Hoffman, who was a writer for this episode.
Awesome.
It really embodied a lot of things that pertains to the 60s. There was a hint of racism. There was things of drugs and the growth of how Vegas is now.
Beginning this overall vision for Vegas and expanding it from just
good job,
kind
Seth.
of a mob town in the desert.
Yeah.
And see, what I like is that we get to see the mob now. You know, the boys coming from Chicago.
yeah.
You know, you get to see kind of like the puppeteers who pull the puppet strings, which is kind of nice. Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's go into the guys that show up. The crew. The crew shows up from Obama Town. They show up from Chicago.
That's what we call it now?
I mean, for tonight.
I didn't know that.
Obama Town. So they show up. They come in town to check on things, to see what's going on. And it seems like everybody is like on the eggshells a little bit because of one particular guy.
We're first off, we're led by the main boss. His name is Angelo, and I just got to say right now how excited I was. He's played by Jonathan Banks, fresh off an amazing run on Breaking Bad. My God.
He's the bomb.
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Wasn't he also in Beverly Hills Cop as a bad guy?
I don't know.
He's been in so many.
He's been on Law and Order.
Yeah.
He's been in so many
credits probably.
His rap sheet is how long.
Jonathan Banks,
pun intended.
Phenomenal
Jonathan.
actor.
You're the bomb, Jonathan. Big ups to Jonathan for being in this episode, and he actually played the role to the T.
Yeah, even though he only had like 4 lines.
But that's all he needed, though. You know, he didn't need to say much. It was all in his face.
Yeah, his presence.
You know,
His body language just said it all as the boss. Let's talk about this guy. What's his name?
Rizzo.
Yes. It's like Mia's dad. And I'm like, is this Mia's dad? And then he has like the Justin Bieber hair with the Kwame like silver thing going in the front, and he's just a douche. Actually, the actor is a pretty good guy. I don't even know. He actually he was so believable. This guy, like, you forget that this guy's acting. He really played the heck out of this character. I should have found out what his name was, but I didn't.
We got it.
Nick's on it. But what did you think, Bam, of Mia's dad? What's his name? Jonathan? Johnny Rizzo? Johnny Rizzo. Two Z's.
Well, obviously, he's a little bitter that he is no longer allowed in Las Vegas. He's not even allowed to participate or gamble on the premises.
Yeah.
And so you can already tell that there's a bitterness. You know, his daughter's there, and he's in a place where he wants to be, but he's banned. His daughter's there, and the first conversation that the two of them had together, he is now trying to, what's the term, slicing from the top?
Skim
from the top.
And
Skimming the skim.
And so he's skimming the skim. He wants to make a deal with his daughter in order to get a profit. So there's envy. He totally does not like the fact that Savino's in charge.
No.
Yeah, he doesn't like the Savinos in charge.
Which I get. I get Bam, but I found there's absolutely nothing redeeming about this guy. I think you're right, Thaddeus, that he did a very good job of embodying this character, and I could actually believe him for the most part. But I was still always distracted by the fact that there is absolutely nothing good about this character. Like, he's too far of a douchebag.
Right.
He's just everything. He is despicable in every
But
way.
what did he actually do? Because I know he was like a lieutenant in the mob, but like, what was did they say what his position was, or what he overseed, or like what he did?
Well, he's this part. They haven't. Well, they did when they had the mugshots. He was like right on the line under Angelo. There was like four. I think there was like six in total. But that was supposed to be like the levels. So I guess Savino was like on the level under him, which is why he has to respect him so much. It's not for the simple fact that he's just a hothead. He has to respect him because he's actually
ranked higher
in the family, right under Angelo, and that's why he had to try to appease him with everything, you know.
He was worried about, regardless of how despicable he was acting, he was like, but we can't be honest with him. We can't just go in there and yelling at him. Got to smooth things over because Savino's got his eye on the prize, on the big prize, that expansion.
Mm-hmm. Right. That expansion, Alex, that you just mentioned is really great, how the writers are dropping hints as to how the development of Vegas came along, and it being everything that we know it is today, which is really cool. You know, talking about the fancy restaurant. I mean, it started off with the guy with the fancy restaurant, one of their big players.
A whale.
At what hotel were they at? The Monte Carlo, or they were talking about the Monte Carlo.
At a restaurant.
Yeah.
Were they at a restaurant?
They were at a restaurant.
Off-site restaurant.
Okay, so
weren't they at a restaurant in a casino? Isn't that what?
That's what Savino wants to do.
No, that's what he wanted to do. So they were in a restaurant.
Yeah, they was at an offsite.
Yeah, they were at an offsite restaurant, and they were eating dinner. And then Savino went and told the story in regards to how there's a guy who likes to gamble, and when he's there, he brings in a lot of money. But the only thing is, when his girlfriend wants to leave, he has to leave and go take her out.
Right.
And so when he wins all his money, or the money that he has with him, he walks out the door. Mm-hmm. So it would be better if we could feed him so that he does not have to leave, and then we could, take his money.
Yeah.
I mean, basically that's everything that they have today. I mean, if you look at today, every hotel is self-contained. You need not go anywhere.
They do everything they can to keep you from leaving that door.
Everything is there. There's no reason to go anywhere if you go to Vegas. Like, they want to cater to every need. So, I like that they showed that. And, the thing about I like what they're doing also with Lamb's character, not Lamb, excuse me, Savino's character, is that they're starting to show that there's a assimilation towards Lamb, which we can talk about later. It seems like they're becoming more and more similar to a certain degree, especially the way that Savino's handling his relationship politically with the mob family. So that's very very interesting.
Well,
that's going to develop.
You can see that. You can see like the attention really starting to grow, just kind of between Lamb and Savino.
Yeah, like you said, Nick, with the first time we see them in this episode. The two of them really get into it. They're a lot more what's the word? Not slick, but we really see some like rivalry building up here.
It's a bit chippy a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it's low.
But in this episode, Savino, you could see how Savino's character is similar to Lamb's because of how he had to deal with the douchebag, as you call him, John Rizzo.
Right.
So, in Savino's defense, he did what he had to do. He knew he was totally wrong, and having to trust his guts and instincts. And so, going back to with the crew coming to town and Savino and Rizzo, he did everything that he can possibly do. He wasn't supposed to be in the casino lobbies, which Lamb made it a point, don't have him down there. So then what Savino did was he brought everything to him. He took him up to the penthouse. He had everything. He said he brought him the best dealers, the best waitresses, the best
nice-looking penthouse.
Everything. Yeah. He brought him everything.
There were girls up there.
Yeah.
He was even letting him win.
Yeah,
I mean, it was
The
like
whole bar was up there.
it's like everything. It was like, what do you need? It's like this guy is like in his terrible twos. He's just like a spoiled brat. And it's like, dude, it's like, don't you know once you're like over 40 and you act like that, you're a douche. You're not, and you're terrible too. You're not a toddler, dude.
But what would you suspect a bitter man who had everything and now it's being taken away from him? He can't even, he's upset. He's bitter. How else do you expect a 40-year-old plus bitter man to act?
Well, he doesn't have everying. He has vices that he cannot control. Yeah. And his vices are getting the best of him when it comes to gambling and being used to, I mean, I'm sure in Chicago he can do whatever the hell he wants.
It's just quite a downfall. Now, Bam, you were talking earlier about how he doesn't have what he wants anymore. He wants to be in Vegas, but he's not allowed. Was there anything to establish that he wishes he had Savino's position running the casino? Does he care about running the casino, or is it he likes Vegas as a playground, but his deal is in Chicago?
I think his problem is power. Just like a typical rich person, when you don't get their way, they have hissy fits.
Push and shove. And
they push and shove, and they,
yell.
So it could, but actually it could be. I think he could, because he actually referenced when he was with his daughter toward the end of the episode, when he says, because it was referenced last week about how the daughter her name is Rita, right?
Mia.
How Mia could potentially one day take over to Savino, and Savino was like, kind of gave her that look.
Right.
And then it was referenced again today when Mia, right? Mm-hmm. When Mia and John was talking, she says that, you can potentially run this one day and we could do our deal once there's a new boss. Yeah. So obviously he has a mission. He's coming back.
Yeah. He definitely has an agenda, Bam. And I don't think he wants to actually run it per se. I think he would love to run it through Mia, because she's there. Mm-hmm. See, the position that he's in is in a higher ranking position than where Savino is, and that's pretty much how it's been. If you follow any kind of mob stories or mob movies or mob storylines or anything like that, he's already in a higher position. He's already in a higher ranked position. So I think he enjoys his position, but he's kind of stuck in the middle where he's not the boss like Angelo, and he's not really useful per se when it comes to a huge endeavor like Vegas, because he's not out there.
Yeah.
So he's like kind of trapped in the middle. Yeah, he's like kind of trapped in the middle, which he probably calls shots back in Chicago, but his opinion is kind of listened to. He's not running anything in Vegas.
Well, see, and then what I think it is, what I think like his main thing is because like he's banned from Vegas or from the whole state, really.
Right.
And so like gambling, and so
Did they say why?
Yeah, because he go ahead, Nick.
Attacked the dealer.
Yeah, he attacked the dealer.
You mean
like a dice?
Like how he did in the episode?
Yeah, except he put the other guy's eye out.
Yeah.
Oh.
So the guy, he put the guy's eye out, and the gaming commission banned him from
from the state.
Yeah, from the state. All casino floors. He can be in the state. He can be at the hotel. He just can't be on the casino floor. He can't be gambling.
And then real quickly, his name is Michael Wiseman. That's the actor.
Wiseman. Good job, Wiseman.
Rizzo.
Speaking about how Savino's character really is kind of establishes how we see Vegas now, that's also in reference to how the penthouse is. The way Savino set the penthouse up for him. Again, that's something that we see today.
In Vegas today.
In Vegas today, you know, there's private rooms and things like that where you can accommodate people who are either rich or want to be pampered or for whatever reason, but it's kind of how it is today.
But, you know, I have to say, like, in Rizzo's defense, this is going to sound a little weird, but, you know, because he's
gonna sound weird.
He's a gambler, right? So it's like, you know, when you're a gambler, you're in the moment, you want to be around people, you know, so you want to be on the casino floor, it's loud, there's just an atmosphere, and so it's just like, you know, it's contagious. So when other people are winning across the casino, they're having a good time, they're yelling, and so when you open a room by yourself, it's kind of like, okay, I won, but
it's like,
you know, yeah, like there's like no one.
Now you bring up an interesting point, Nick, because I just remembered that later on, when he can't keep it together and he does go back down to the casino floor against his and Lamb. You know,
but also just go back. So once he realized that the dealer was letting him win, he didn't like that. So then he beat the dealer up.
Right.
And then he says, "I'm going downstairs to gamble," which he, you know, Savino had advised him not to, but he did so anyway. So now he's down there, he's gambling.
So he's down there.
Someone got the word, and Lamb went down there to get him.
Lamb comes in, Lamb beats him up, Lamb roughs him up because Rizzo isn't gonna just go with him just because he says so. Right. And it's great. We love seeing Lamb beat up mobsters. That's why we watch the show.
Justice.
That's right. And so then what happens is when he throws
he tosses a chip at him. Go buy a pony.
I forgot about that.
I was like, kick his
line of the episode.
Oh my god!
So he gets him in the jail cell, and Rizzo turns to him and he says, "I bet you enjoyed flashing that badge in front of all those people," which makes me think of what you were saying, Nick, about how he doesn't want to just gamble up alone by himself. He wants to be in front of people. He wants to rule. He wants to have his court. Yeah, it's the ego thing. Same way he loved towards the end of the episode. When Rizzo's trying to convince Angelo why Lamb needs to be taken out because he got roughed up in front of people, that's that publicity, that's that public image thing.
Right.
He's at this table with all the mobsters having a meeting, and he just starts yelling, and and this is the great part of Wiseman's performance, is he just starts yelling and he's like, "He did that to me," and if you listen to the words he's saying, he sounds exactly like the terrible twos. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" Yeah. But he's just so like,
he's like a spoiled brat
about the theatricality of it.
Exactly, you're right, Alex. And he's like, he put his hands on me, like he put his hand, like really, dude,
in front of everybody.
Like, dude, it's just like, you know, but as far as he's concerned, like, you know, to be on a level right under the main boss, and that to him, he was trying to appeal to, look, for him to disrespect me, he pretty much disrespects all of us. That's what he was trying to, you know, allude to. Yeah, he was trying to get that across. But, you know, I mean, Savino, the thing I like about Savino is a only force is necessary. You only use force if it's necessary type of guy. Everything else needs to be done with a sense of swagger and sexy, and that's his whole angle or his approach to his situation in this town. Rizzo, the mean streets of Obama town, you gotta lay the hammer in Chicago, especially back in 1960.
Ask questions,
especially if you're Angelo.
And that was Rizzo's whole thing, because he went to Savino and basically said, you know, John Wayne is our problem. We need to get rid of him. You need to take care of him right now. And you know, a lot of times when your nerves are razzled, or his mind was just all over the place.
Revenge.
So his whole thing was revenge, and so he wasn't really able to think straight, which is why Savino, who's always calm and cool, he was able to get the best of him. So when Savino counteracted to his big hissy fit two-grader speech, you know, he says, you know, I had my best people, you know, look after you, my best dealers, my best everything. Yeah. And he was like, and the reason that we had the dealers have you win is because you can't handle a loss like a real man. Yeah. And so, I mean, he was totally calm and he shut him down. And he had the.
And everybody knew it.
Take that, Weissman.
lots of theatrics.
Yeah.
And if you want to catch our theatrics again, you can go to iTunes. So you make sure you check out Thaddeus's theatrics, Bamm's theatrics, my theatrics, as well as Alex's theatrics here. Again, you
That's
go
what it's all
on,
about.
go on iTunes, rate, comment, subscribe. If you don't have a profile, go ahead and make a profile. And again, like Bamm told us the first, second week, you can get all of your favorite AfterBuzz shows on iTunes, and they'll go ahead and order them for you. And click like and share and put them on Twitter and Facebook, all that good stuff.
Talk about it.
There you go.
Give us something to talk about. In fact, if you guys want to talk, you guys
Or hear
can
Thaddeus sing more of that
hear
song.
me talk a little bit. I need to find some 60s song and serenade you guys a little bit.
Some rat
But-
pack-ish.
Some rat package.
Yeah.
But until then, you guys can call in and comment and ask us any questions for I can't do the I. 424-256-1729, like Sir Richard Wentworth told you earlier in the intro. 424-256-1729. You can call in and, we'll answer some questions. We can chat a little bit. But
Tweet us.
Tweet us. So, back to Mia. I think that Mia is got Savino's back. So I was unsure about that last week, right? And this week it seems like she is a futuristic forward thinker, and she sees Savino's vision for the future with the expansion. And so this makes me think that she may possibly end up being, it's kind of a prediction, I shouldn't go into that, but regardless, I would like to see some little sparks with that.
But
she's cute.
But I also think that she knows her dad better than she knows anyone, and she knows that her dad's a knucklehead.
Yes.
And so it was an easy win case for her to obviously be on Savino's side because she knows her dad is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah.
What's going to be fascinating to see about Mia's character, though, is Savino mentions that bold move Rizzo did by sending me off back east to go to school. She goes to a nice school. Now she knows all this stuff. She's great at handling business. She's so great at handling business, she knows Savino's right. So we know, obviously, she'd side with her. She agrees how to expand the business, the smart way to do it. But it's still her dad. So you can really see some conflict in her.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and you know what I think it is? I really think that Mia is going to follow the money. And so she sees what Savino's doing, and so she's like, okay, I see the expansion. That means it's going to be more money coming into casino. It means more money into my pocket.
And she's also probably thinking that maybe she wants to be the first woman to have her own casino eventually at some point.
Yeah, it's all about the money, especially Vegas. Right then, mob family, follow the money.
And commenting on what you're saying, Nick and Bamm, as far as Mia is concerned, Mia is, to me, she came in and she tried to prove herself. She was, like I said, she was a little overzealous to prove herself or whatever or whatnot. But she's an expert mathematician. But the thing about Savino is an expert behavioralist. So he knows the behaviors of the gamblers and what's going to keep them in. So she has figured out really quickly that she needs to maximize the potential revenue and income stream based on Savino's evaluation of the behaviors of the traffic and the gamblers and the big spenders or whatnot. The kid, Bamm, you just made a point about Mia. What was the point you just made regarding Mia?
I made a couple of points. I said that she could potentially take over. That's why she's looking. That's why she's
the first woman with the casino.
Maybe that's why.
Oh, you were talking about the father.
Yeah.
And her. This is the thing. I don't necessarily agree with the father thing. When she was going to bail her dad out, she said she never really got to see that side of him. Mm-hmm. I think just based on
good point.
How they showed their relationship, he was really sweet with her. So it was an actual exact opposite. That's like his little girl. Mm-hmm. It's like just going back to Casino when you had Nicky Santoro and he had his son. He made pancakes for him at 6 a.m. He went to school and he was he was the exact opposite. He was a freaking animal when he was in the street. Mm-hmm. And I think Johnny Rizzo has that same kind of relationship, double as two faces living two lives kind of thing. But the thing about it is now that's why she said I want to get to see the side of him because she wants to immerse herself in the business and she wants to learn. But Savino was like, no, this is not a good time, blah 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 blah, for you to get that to soak that up right now because
to get that knowledge.
Exactly, it's not time to get that knowledge, like Nick said, because he has another agenda that he needs to keep Johnny Rizzo focused on.
Yeah.
So I don't think she has seen that from her dad yet. I don't think she knows that side of him. You know, even when he talked to her about the skim, he talked to her about it like, oh, they're going to Disneyland.
Yeah, he talked about. You remember when you were a kid?
Exactly.
Finger cream.
Exactly.
I don't know what.
And this dude's an animal.
That's what we're doing right now.
Right.
Yeah.
We're just gonna take a little off the top.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll wait a little bit. Maybe the time's not right. And I'm just thinking, dude, there is nothing to like about this guy.
There isn't. If anybody is going to get Johnny to change his mind, it's going to be her. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be Savino. It's going to be her
as
that says,
tactful
look.
as he's been thus far, which I can't imagine is very easy for him to do.
Well, it's definitely not because, I mean, this guy, he's doing it with a level of intellect, and this guy is a brute. So if you think about it, he probably, based on his personality trait, is looking at Savino like Savino's a little spineless.
Speaking of intellect, Thaddeus, did you know that AfterBuzz TV has over 50 shows?
Actually, I did know that.
You did? You already knew that?
Yes. I'm not sure if everybody else knows that, though, all the AfterBuzzers.
Well, if you don't know, let me tell you. So we have a new fall lineup, and we have a lot of great new shows that are here on AfterBuzz TV. So you guys make sure you go to www.afterbuzztv.com, and you can click on the schedule, and there are terrific shows.
They're terrific. They really are.
There are scripted shows as well as reality shows, and some of the great shows are Homeland, there's Vegas, there's Castle, there's Scandal, there's Doctor Who, and then, of course, there's the reality shows such as Project Runaway, America's Next Top Model, Here Comes Honey Boo Boo.
Oh, here she comes.
X Factor.
You know, The Voice.
Jersey Shore, the final season.
So be sure that you check out the great fall lineup that we have here on AfterBuzzTV.com.
There you go.
Also, subscribe to us on YouTube. /AfterBuzzTV and follow us on Twitter.
Follow that Twitter.
Twitter.com/AfterBuzzTV.
At AfterBuzzTV.
Exactly, Alex. At AfterBuzzTV.
You can talk to us too, the Vegas crew. You hashtag Rancher Justice. Vegas, Battle for Vegas.
Exactly. And that's a 4 with the number 4, Battle
for Vegas.
Number 4, Vegas, or hashtag Vegas.
Both of them. We like both of them in the same tweet.
We like them both. We like Vegas and Battle for Vegas. Savino v. Lamb. Lamb v. Savino.
You sound like Mia right now.
I sound like Mia?
Well, Mia sounds like you.
Mia sounds like that? That sounds like...
Mia has
voices.
That
sounds like
need to build a
restaurant. That sounds like Vera DeMilo from what Jim Carrey used to that character on In Living Color.
Yeah, she has a very
Remember he used to that character? The deep voice spitting up.
Like the real small
tobacco
bikini, and it was...
So
we're going to need to build a restaurant in the casino.
So based on what happened at the little meeting that they were, you know, when
there were a couple of meetings.
The last meeting when Rizzo was trying to convince the guys, you know, the crew that, you know, that Rizzo needs to be, that Lamb needs to be bumped off based on putting hands on him in the casino.
Oh my, he put hands on him.
So did you see how they looked at each other? Like after, you know, he finished his spiel, and then Savino said, you know, gave his spiel. He said, "Look, you know, I'm down. I made my oath. I'm down to, you know, if we want to get somebody off, no one wants to knock somebody off more than nobody wants to get rid of this guy more than me. But this guy serves a purpose, and ultimately by us getting rid of him, he's basically saying it's going to make Vegas look like an unsafe haven for families and all that.
Yeah,
a lot more problems.
Yeah,
right.
We if we take him out, we'll have 2 dead sheriffs in 1 month.
Yeah, that's a problem.
But the boss, his response to all of that was to Rizzo. He says the penthouse was not good enough for you.
He takes a moment. Jonathan Banks in that moment, he's listening diligently to both arguments, which is good, and of course Savino's making sense, and Rizzo is just spouting, and then he does one of these like neck crack things, and he's like you can just see all these wheels turning, and then he just looks at him and he says the penthouse wasn't good enough for you, you 2-year-old.
Right.
Yeah.
well, so the penthouse wasn't good enough for you. You know, it's like what? But the thing I liked was that Savino was smart enough to make his argument, and it all boiled down to one thing:
business,
and that was money.
Yeah.
And those guys is like, look, if there's anything that's gonna hinder us getting our cash flow, getting our skim,
Can't argue with the money.
dude, the penthouse wasn't good enough for you, bro. Like, come on. Like, we set you up. Like, stop being a brat.
Bro.
Like, bro.
We set you
like,
up.
dude.
See, but now if you
Like,
really
the wave wasn't big enough for you, bro.
Bro.
I got to hook you up with a surfboard with more sex wax. Like, what?
Bro.
longboard.
Longboard?
Go ahead, Nick. Go
Sure,
ahead.
whatever.
If you really look at what Savino's doing, and I know he said it in the limo when they were going back when Rizzo got out of jail. He's looking, he said, we can't take out the sheriff because we need to find the right angle. And so, he's all about the angles, and like you said, like he's really trying to get the heads around this expansion.
Right.
And so, like what Bamm was saying is that, if you have 2 dead sheriffs in 1 month, that's people aren't going to be coming in.
Right.
People, like, they're not going to want to come gamble. They're not going to feel safe. And nobody said that more suitcases are going to be leaving the city than coming in.
Right.
So, that's good mindset. That's, Savino.
Savino, yeah. That was really smart. He's a master strategist.
Yeah.
If you're going to put in some work because it makes sense and it suits your purpose, not because you're making an emotional choice. And that Rizzo choice was an emotional choice. It wasn't a business decision. And I like that the crew, it showed that the crew actually supported a wise, level-headed, cool, calm, and collective boss type of decision. It wasn't something that was based on one guy getting slapped around a little bit and getting emotional and like, oh, let's go whack this guy type of thing. So that was a relief that decision was made. But of course, they can't go whack,
Yeah.
Lamb. It's not going to happen. I mean, not to say that they couldn't attempt and it wouldn't happen, but it doesn't make any sense.
It's not good for business.
It's not good for business.
Yeah.
So
Not right now.
Chicago. This is in Chicago in, say, the 40s or 50s, which would have been, I guess, the heyday for Rizzo's character, and that. They're an older generation in the 60s, which means in that it would have been a decade or two earlier would have been their more
that's true
heyday.
So he probably was like around the 40s when guys were riding around the side of cars with Tommy guns, and no, seriously,
just about
30s
and 40s.
Yeah, this guy's like 40-something, 50-some years old. Yeah, I think when he was a youngster, like earning his stripes as a soldier, he was back in the day, like it was probably like the 30s and 40s when they had Tommy guns, and it was like really wild.
Yeah.
It was really crazy. So his mentality and how his approach is, that's why I don't think he gets that much discipline from Angelo and those guys, because those guys are like, they're old school. So you got a guy like Savino who's going to come in, and the whole glitz and glamour of Vegas is the antithesis of
it's also a new generation.
Yeah, exactly.
Which comes up, old school versus new school, which comes up at the very end of the episode. And we're like, great, Angelo, I love him. He's listening to Savino. He's listening to the level-headed argument. And then Savino's like, and I got to tell you, I really care about this expansion thing. And that's where it comes back, and he says, you got glitter in your head or something. It's like you come out here in this beautiful desert paradise, and you think about problems that aren't really problems.
Right.
You have too much time on your hands.
Right.
But he's a thinker. He's a businessman. He's a thinker, and so he's always thinking about the business, the money, and all that stuff.
As you should. You're running a casino.
Yeah.
That's what you need to be thinking about.
And he's also, because he's a little bit younger, he's also thinking about the future.
Yeah.
He sees the potential. He sees the future. He sees the change of what Vegas is about to bring.
I mean, if I worked with Mia every day, I'd be thinking about the future too. With Mia.
So let's jump into the boxer.
Right.
Yes.
Let's get into the boxer. And let's talk about the whodunit of this week.
Because there was one.
We start off with the Olympic team and this boxing team, and one of the boxers ends up dead in the street, and Lamb and his brothers, his brother and his son have to solve the murder.
But what I thought, Thaddeus, was really interesting in that very intro where they were having like their little press conference. They had just won their medals, and they were asking questions in regards to how did it feel to, basically beat up the Russian. And then the guy who was eventually killed, his name was Tommy. Tommy, rather than answer, it felt great, and we got a medal for our country, he says that, how can you ask me a question when earlier today one of my teammates can't use the same bathroom, or something that has something to do in regards to segregation. And so again,
he was turned down at a restaurant.
He was turned down at a restaurant,
right.
And so you kind of think that it was going to go into this whole thing about a race, because in the 60s and segregation and all those other things, you were I thought immediately that it was going to go into this whole color thing, because one of the things I joked about was when we saw the girl, the ethnic girl, we were like, what is she? She looks black. Like, what is she doing? And
what ethnicity is she?
Right.
Miss Garcia.
And so then once we saw this character Ray, we were like, okay, they finna go into a racial issue. And then as Tommy's actually defending, saying about how he couldn't be seated, then Ray kind of like taps him on the side and kind of like tells him to chill out. And then we go into what the real story was about.
Now, I think you bring up exactly what I want to talk about here, Bam. And on the one hand, what Ray does with the tapping on the shoulder and say, hey, this is not the time to get intense about this conflict, is kind of thematically related to what happens later on with Savino talking to me and saying, we can't get intense about this. We got to smooth things over. We got to be tactful about this, which I find that interesting. But what I want to know is if you guys had a similar kind of problem that I did, which not so much a problem, but I was like, I felt like, okay, they throw that in. I don't know why you're laughing. They throw that into the beginning of.
I thought you were going to ask us a question of like. Nothing.
No, the press conference, and Tommy's getting all angry about segregation. I felt like it was thrown in there. I felt like it was like, we're going to do that at the very beginning. Oh, look, now immediately you see that Tommy's going to be the good guy, and yeah, they're supposed to paint him to be like a good guy later on, as we learn more about him throughout the episode. But then they just sort of deal with that, and then he doesn't have any backlash about talking about that in the press conference, and then they gloss right over that. And I feel like...
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Thaddeus.
I feel like the reason they went over it is because what the writers are doing, I feel they're touching upon subjects that they don't need to dive into, because, people are smart, and you just hint at some things and you just go from there. I don't think that you need to make an episode about it or integrate it into the script completely. Everybody is smart enough and got it. We're talking about it. We got it. And everybody who watched the show, they got it. When he says, does it feel any different to knock out a Korean than it is any different to knock out a Russian? It's duh. I mean, we get it. We understand what you're saying. So I think they're just dropping hints of social injustices and social the social climate of the time without actually having to dive into it. It's just making us aware of what's going on at that time. But at that point, people are so immune to certain things. I think in 1960, they're like immune to. It's like okay, we're gonna get a story about the boxers. This is what. I think it actually kind of makes it more real to a certain degree, because on an everyday basis, there's not a Martin Luther King speech coming from the average person who's living their life. So these guys are just living their lives, and then somebody might say a little something, and then he gets nudged under the table, and then it's like, okay, it's not okay. He might, I think it makes it a little more realistic.
And also, what makes it realistic, which you really don't see, is once Tommy was killed, Ray, the black guy, immediately came to the defense of trying to figure out what happened and said that they were best friends. 1960, black, white, best friends. I mean, it happened, but
it wasn't talked about.
It wasn't talked about. It wasn't spoken about. So I like the twist that they had on it. clearly they were friends because, he was getting ready to defend him at a press conference, and then once Tommy was dead, then he breaks through the barricade and finds out what's wrong with his friend, and then once he discovered what was going on, then he goes chasing down, what's the guy's name?
The boxing promoter, Gary.
Boxing promoter.
Yeah.
And
Immediately.
Yeah, because he was like, I knew he did it. So he was just,
But
He was flying, too.
He was flying, and there was no way Lamb was going to catch that brother. He was like at a track meet.
But the way that they shot it, you almost looked like he was
funny.
about to catch him.
No, that's what was funny about
They
it.
always shoot things
Yeah,
like that.
because like
Dennis
you
Quaid is
know
what?
he's not gonna
'Cause
catch him,
this
but they
kid's-
had to shoot it like, okay,
Exactly.
he's not that fast.
No, this kid's got on Chuck Taylors and some loose Dockers, wrinkle free,
And he's been working out.
and he's been working. He's a
know.
boxer.
Yeah, so
Ralph
his
Lamb's got
stamina
on some you know what kickers.
And the cowboy hat.
He always
And-
does.
and
He always
cowboy
does.
hat.
His hat didn't fly off though when he was running.
And had some stiff jeans on. Probably had a crease in the jeans, which makes it even harder to run in those things. What a nice tight belt, plaid shirt. You're not sprinting in that.
Yeah, he's always looking so pristine, and he's running around though
Exactly.
and beating up people.
And he wasn't even breathing hard. He should have
he
been like,
wasn't.
I know. And his hair, when he takes off his hat, his hair is always so nicely coiffed over to the side.
Hair and makeup. That's what.
Yeah.
Hair. Shout out to hair and makeup.
Well, yeah, that's what it is.
But let's continue with this story because there was actually a lot that dealt with this story. So then once Lamb decided to take him in, he discovers that he had Tommy's medal.
Yeah.
He had Tommy's medal.
The
and
boxing promoter had Tommy's medal.
the boxing promoter. What's his name?
Garrity.
Garrity. He had the medal, so that was probable cause to take him in. So then once he takes him in, then this is where the story starts to evolve and it starts to kind of go all over the place. And so does anyone want to go into it?
well. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So yeah, basically he had explained how he ended up with the medal, that he alluded that Tommy was on some sort of drugs and that Tommy came to him asking for money and sold his medal for $211. After he kind of told him to kick rocks, he came back to him and said, look, I'll sell this medal to you for whatever amount of money. And what's funny is how they alluded that he had a drug problem, or he was like a drug addict. So you kind of thought that maybe... Oh, he said he saw a bunch of needles in the kid's bag. So you're like,
I was thinking
okay.
steroids though.
You're thinking steroids?
I was thinking steroids.
Like early generation?
He said dope, like
Yeah,
needles, you know.
Yeah, but
Right.
But again,
They still call it doping these days.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah.
But in those days, were they doping? Were they taking?
don't know.
Yeah, there was drugs. There was athletic enhancers back then, of course.
vitamins is what they used to call them back in the day.
All right. Now we call it creatine.
That is what we call it now.
Back then, it was.
Well, then I'm slightly confused because by the end of the episode, Lamb talks about the medicine Tommy was taking for his neck.
Well, let's go back because once the fighting promoter said that he thought he had a drug problem, so then they went to investigate.
Right.
They went to investigate, and then they found a ticket, and so the ticket happened to be at, I guess it's a strip club,
joint.
a strip joint.
Which Dixon frequents because they all knew his name.
Hi, Dixon.
And it was also revealed that
Do that very well.
that Lamb is Dixon, Lamb and their father and son, Lamb and Dixon are father and son. That was never really revealed.
Actually, I think it was. I think it was mentioned briefly. We had a commenter point that out after the first episode. I kind of missed it. I kind of got a little confused.
it was
on it.
subtle.
I think we talked about. It wasn't harped on.
Yeah,
but
I think it was subtle.
We know that
brushed
Ralph
over.
and Jack are brothers. And they've like mentioned that Dixon is his son, but we just always saw him as the other guy. He's Ralph's son.
As
We
the
know
rookie.
that.
But Dixon did allude to he did call Lamb. Did he call him Pops or Dad or something?
Wait, hey,
Pa.
Pop.
Yeah, hey,
or
Pop.
Pa. Yeah.
Flower Pop.
Yeah. So anyway, so continuing, so then once they're at the strip club, then they start to find out and they start to investigate, and the young lady was speaking with Jack in regards to some of the things that she noticed. She noticed that he was a little pale, and
A little frightened too. Right?
Yeah, and a little frightened. And then I'm kind of blanking out.
Yeah, he only had half of the ticket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dixon would be the only one who knew, since he's the
patron.
He's the club hopper.
And so and he left a black bag.
Yes, that's
right.
it.
And then so in the black bag was $211. There was a gun in there,
pistol.
And then was there one more thing in there?
There was a picture with LASTU.
There you go.
It was
7. It was number 7.
It was LASTUS7.
Yes.
And they couldn't figure out what that was.
They couldn't decipher.
Right.
But then Amy Garcia steps in and says, "Oh, it was going to Tucson."
Right.
And it stood for Las Vegas to Tucson at 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So she figured it out, and then.
See, I thought that was cool. They dropped that all the ethnically ambiguous people at the time called the Greyhound, so they would know what that would be.
Very astute.
That was nice how they threw that in there, Seth.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. That was good.
She was like, "Who's going to Tucson?" And they were like, "What are you talking about?" LAS. She was looking at. She was talking like they were stupid. LAS.
She spelled it out like 5 times.
Right.
Like they
7
couldn't
at
figure it
7
out.
o'clock. Like idiots.
So they go to the bus where they find who they think is Mrs. Dunbar.
Yes.
Oh, I don't remember which character's last name is Dunbar, but
Right.
they find the.
It was an alias. They got some fake ID.
She
for her.
doesn't speak during the interrogation. And
Solid as a
what does
rock.
Ralph find out?
Well, Ralph finds out that she's the wife
Of
Ronnie, another
Ronnie,
boxer,
another
right?
boxer.
Not Tommy, because they thought that she had something to do with Tommy.
Right.
And
Or Tommy's girlfriend or something like that.
or the girlfriend. And Lamb said he knew that he had saw her from somewhere. And so when they go back to the video of the fight, Lamb sees her in the audience, so he puts a connection that she is with Ronnie, and so when he brings her back in for question, then she admits that that they're married and that he's been beating her.
Yeah.
And so that's how her and Tommy's relationship came into effect, because he was trying to help her get away.
Right.
And so he was given the $211 to her and the gun, and she had the bag, and so she was going to leave during the fight.
Yeah.
But then Ronnie saw them have an interaction where
caught him on the phone.
Caught on the phone, having conversations, and then with the note that says LASTUS7, he saw Ronnie saw Tommy give that note to the wife.
Yeah.
Right.
And so therefore he says that he thought that they were having an affair and that she was cheating on him, which is why he went after Tommy, and it was revealed that he
hit him over there.
He hit him over there.
He catches Tommy it's like some kind of alleyway, and it's a pipe.
A blunt object.
I mean, he hits him over, and so Jack and Ralph have the object, and it's it's got like the grip on it, and it's got the blood on it.
Right.
And they think that's what killed him, when immediately our assistant DA, Catherine O'Connell, comes in and says, actually, the coroner's come back. He died from a heart attack, and we're wondering why on earth the boxer is dying from a heart attack.
Right. So that alludes back to the drugs.
Yeah, because the pills, she said that he had a heart attack, and there was pills from injuries, and that it was the pills from injuries, and that the prescription drugs could have basically done it, but they didn't find any prescription drugs. So that was the whole thing.
Whole
they
conflict,
knew that. Yeah, that was all conflict.
There was a couple little holes in this solving of that, because the hit over the head could have caused some kind of stress to make his body could have responded in such a way, like shock, to make the chemicals react to cause the heart attack. Well, like there's a number of ways that could have been deciphered. And then
you have to think back to 1960.
I am thinking back to 1960. But I mean, one thing when it comes to health, any kind of failing health, usually one thing kind of leads to another, especially in a situation like that. Guy gets hit over the head, then he has a heart attack. I mean, that's like saying, you push somebody off a building, the person died on their way down because they had a heart attack while they were falling 20 floors. That is not, you know what I'm saying?
Well, that could be the case, and ultimately, Ronnie does wind up, getting charged with assault because of it.
Right.
But we find out what ultimately happened, and Lamb is smart about this by the end, is
Right.
that Ray slipped Tommy his asthma pills that he'd broken up because he wanted to get Tommy to
stop fighting.
stop fighting.
Right.
I think that he had to take time off and think about it. And that sort of drug cocktail is what ultimately led to his response
demise.
and his heart attack.
But Lamb also let Ray off the hook.
Exactly. He said he didn't think anybody would benefit from seeing Ray behind bars.
Which also makes me question between Lamb, his brother, Jack. and Dixon. Mm-hmm. Are they qualified to be policemen?
No. Which is
They're not qualified to be policemen.
They beat the heck out of people they're trying to interrogate with abandon.
Yeah.
Right. But the whole point of them being the sheriff in that town is they need something that counterbalances the corruption, and that's the whole reason the mayor hired him. And he knows they're good stand-up guys. Yeah, they're good stand-up guys, and they're going to do the morally and ethically right thing in the end. So, however that gets done, that is what the law of the land is.
So this is not exactly Vegas 1960. This is CBS's Vegas 1960.
And so,
I'm saying I think what Bamm is getting at here is legally what they wind up doing by the end of the episode wouldn't have held up.
that's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah,
They had
but
to
we
wrap
go
up
along
the
with it.
episode.
You said what?
They had to wrap up the episode.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not a toxicologist, this guy. He's not a pharmacist or a toxicologist. He said, I think
the evidence wasn't there.
you slipped asthma drugs into his drink while he wasn't looking. Where did he get that from, and where was that?
Well, he thought Ray confirmed it, regardless of how
did.
Ralph deduced it.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's...
But Ronnie gets sent off to jail, and his wife gets sent. She can leave for I don't know where she goes.
And he was sent off to jail because they decided to drop the charges of the murder, but they kept the charges of him assaulting his wife.
No, they kept the charges.
Attempted murder charges.
The assault on Tommy.
Okay.
Because they couldn't prove the domestic abuse. But one thing I do like is how they touched upon domestic abuse. They went from racism, domestic abuse, money laundering. They
did everything in this episode.
They did a lot in this episode on a social level to make people conscious about things. So I like that. I like what the writers did.
Another good installment. I really like the direction.
Right. So let's give shout outs to the writers.
There you go.
Writers get the shout outs, the claps this week. Vegas writers, Seth. What's his last name?
Seth Hoffman.
Seth Hoffman.
And so speaking of, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Speaking of
writers, let's go into some quick news.
Quick news and gossip. That's exactly what I was going to do. Good job.
TV news.
Well, CBS Tuesday night seems to be the night of TV. So again, they were victorious. CBS from the whole prime time from NCIS at 8, from NCIS LA to 9 o'clock, and 10 o'clock. Of course, Vegas all had the number one slots, and so CBS was a winner for the second week in a row on Tuesday nights.
Yes. Number one.
And so Vegas had 12.11 million viewers. Again, number one, dominated their time slot, and so I think it's safe to say that Vegas is a hit.
Here to stay.
It is. It's
kicking.
Here to stay.
Yeah.
Do you have DVR stats on that?
No, there was no. I didn't see any DVR stats, but I remember last week I think it had an additional 2.5 million. So I would say that it's probably around the same thing.
It's like 2 to 2.5 million for this week.
It was about 2.5 for DVR. Last week it was about 14.3 million regular viewers. So it dropped like 2 million viewers, but that's 12 million is still smash.
Yeah. So. And when I watch my Vegas episodes, they'll be 12.12. Because I still haven't, mine's on my DVR and I haven't watched it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
All right.
This guy.
That's funny.
The super math. All right, that's great. So we're looking forward to next week. Number 4. Let's go into predictions.
Fun fact, really quick. See.
And now,
predictions. We'll do predictions.
No, let's do your fun fact quickly.
Fun fact, really quick. The first Vegas fight was between James Corbett and Bob Fitzsimmons in 1897.
Were they in the dirt?
I mean, it was in an actual ring. It was March 17th in an actual ring when Fitzsimmons challenged Corbett.
Vegas boxing fight.
Yeah.
I love how the fun fact music and the predictions music are so similar.
Yeah, they are kind of similar, aren't they?
That was a fun fact. That was a fun fact.
That was a fun
Okay, so
Predictions.
history lesson.
going on to next week and seeing the tensions that are growing in Vegas, Savino, Savoy, the mob bosses in Chicago, Mia, the whole nine. What do you think is going to happen in week 4? Bam, go.
Pass. I couldn't think quickly.
Next week, week 4, Nick, go.
Next week, week 4, we have to wait. We have to wait for the following week. Because remember, we have to wait 2 weeks.
Good point.
So in 2 weeks,
Why would they do that?
To keep you hanging. But what I think will happen is because again, we really get to see the mob in this next episode. I'm alluding to the previews that they showed us. So I really think that it's going to be some mob justice. That's my prediction.
Mob justice. The opposite of rancher justice.
Yeah.
Right.
The heads and tails.
Predictions,
I think
Alex, go.
we got a nice little clip of Lamb saying to Savino, "This is my town," and then Savino goes, "No, this is my town." And made me realize, one, all right, this is what they're doing. They're really getting to it. They're really gonna start duking it out for control of the town. 2, they both got there a month ago.
Bam.
And they're already.
Bam, go.
I think that we're going to continue to see what happens in the 6th season. They're going to continue to tackle on issues, and I don't think every episode is going to deal with, the murders. It's going to deal with other things.
Good.
So,
I think that the mob is going to try to do something to Savino because of Rizzo, and that's going to make Mia and Savino closer because she doesn't want him taken out, and that's going to start and spark something, whatever, blah, blah, blah.
I know what you want to spark.
We'll see you guys next week for episode 4 of CBS's Vegas. You can see where we can find
2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Sorry, guys. 2 weeks. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks. You guys say we can find you guys at Alex.
I'm on Twitter at the Alex Salem.
At the Nick Perdue.
at Bamm Ericsen.
I'm Thaddeus Massey, and you can find me on Twitter at Club Thaddeus. See you next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.